Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 2 of the Big Four, presented by the Tackle Talk podcast. This 4-part series takes a look behind the scenes at the 4 largest parent companies in fishing tackle who collectively control and own over 80 of the biggest brands in baits, rods, reels, line, and accessories. Today's guest is the President of Rapala VMC USA, Mr. Travis Tuma. Episode 2 of the Big Four, presented by the Tackle Talk podcast, starts right now.
Hello, everybody. I'm Bill Dance, and you're listening to Tackle Talk.
This is the Tackle Talk podcast, brought to you by The Rod Locker. Premium gear and expert advice from a staff you can trust. Now, here's your host, Andrew Hayes.
Hey everybody, welcome to the second episode of this very special project here at the Tackle Talk podcast, the Big Four. And we'll get into this episode here in just a minute, but first, just like last week, we're going to thank our great partners here at Tackle Talk right off the bat so that you can listen to this entire episode and the conversation with Travis completely uninterrupted once it begins. So first, we have to give a big thank you to our title sponsor, The Rod Locker. The Rod Locker is an incredible family-owned tackle shop located in Evansville, Indiana, that blends the selection and pricing of a big box store with the impeccable service and level of care that you get from your small-town tackle shop. Chad, Brian, Hans, Jacob, everybody over at the Rod Locker is incredible. No matter what you have questions about, if you're looking for a particular model of a rod or reel, or you have a question about a bait, they are there to help. And not only do they have an incredible selection of new rods and reels, they also have the internet's best selection of lightly used rods and reels as well, from all of your favorite brands at killer prices. They also have a simple trade-in program where you can turn your old gear into new gear. And if you mention the Tackle Talk podcast on your trade-in submission, you get an extra 10% boost on the value of your trade-in just for listening to Tackle Talk. All that, and you get an extra 5% off your order by using code TACKLETALKJUNE. Now, if you're listening to this in a different month, it's Tackle Talk, and then whatever month that you're currently in. Right now, as we are releasing these episodes, it is June. So the code is going to be TACKLETALKJUNE at checkout for an extra 5% off basically everything on the website. So go check them out over at www.rodlocker.com and use code TACKLETALKJUNE. All right, next up, we have to thank the battery company that powers the Tackle Talk podcast, Amped Outdoors. And the staff and product quality over at Amped Outdoors are just flat out better than any battery company that I've ever dealt with. Their pricing is insanely affordable for the quality product that you're getting. My batteries that I use are like half the price of the batteries that I used to use a few years ago from another company. And truthfully, I like these Amped Outdoors batteries better. They have better tech. They're waterproof. Their larger batteries come standard with Bluetooth monitoring on your phone and heated charging, and a 10-year no-hassle warranty handled by a great staff in Hudson, Wisconsin. Also, it's the little things like case quality, their handles, those little differences that make a battery so special. Amped Outdoors does it right. So whether you're looking for a 12-volt, 24-volt, or 36-volt battery for your trolling motor, your graphs, your live sonar, ice fishing, anything that you could need power for while you're fishing, Amped Outdoors has you covered. So go check them out over at www.ampedoutdoors.com. And finally, we have to thank the great team over at Humminbird and Minn Kota. Now, both of these brands on their own produce some of the most impressive electronics and motors in the fishing industry, but together, it's a whole different ballgame. Humminbird and Minn Kota are meticulously designed and manufactured to work in sync to help you get the most out of your boat and your kayak rig. So things like advanced GPS navigation that allows your Humminbird unit and mapping to communicate with your trolling motor, because then you can use features like autopilot, backtrack, circle mode, cruise control, drift mode, dodge mode, and a ton more options there. And those features allow you, the angler, to actually focus on fishing more so than precise navigation. And in turn, that helps you put more fish in the boat. You also have mega down and mega side imaging compatibility with certain units, eliminating the need for additional transducers and mounting brackets, and just providing you with better control over your sonar. And all that just scratches the surface of all of the benefits of running both Minn Kota and Humminbird together. So for more information about Humminbird and Minn Kota, you can head over to www.humminbird.com or minnkotamotors.com today. All right. Well, welcome back to this very special production from the Tackle Talk podcast as we get ready to embark on episode 2 of the Big Four. Now, the intros from here on out are going to be a little bit shorter because you guys have listened to the past few episodes and you know the premise of this series already. This series has been months and months in the making as we secure exclusive interviews with the 4 biggest parent companies in the bass fishing tackle world. Those would be GSM, Pure Fishing, Rapala VMC, and Pradco. And for today's episode, episode 2, we have a very special opportunity to sit down with the President of Rapala VMC USA, Travis Tuma. Yes, you heard that right. It is the president. This is the top executive in the United States for Rapala VMC. So I mentioned this a few weeks ago, but I'm not aware of any interviews like this that Travis has done up to this point. So I'm pretty excited for this one because we get a true peek behind the curtain at Rapala. And we hit a ton of topics about the history of Rapala, their not just national, but international presence, their philosophies around how they run their business differently than some of the other people in this series, the recent acquisition of 13 Fishing, starting up Crush City, and so many other great topics and sort of mini rabbit holes that we get to dive down. And I walked away from this conversation with a much better understanding of the people and the company behind the baits that I have thrown my entire life. Rapala is synonymous with bass fishing, and today we're lucky enough to get a once-in-a-lifetime exclusive look at the inner workings of such an important company. So Travis was a fantastic guest, and I'm very, very excited to share this conversation with you all. So without further ado, let's jump right into episode 2 of the Big Four with the President of Rapala VMC USA, Travis Tuma. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are joined by the President of Rapala VMC USA, Travis Tuma. Travis, thank you so much for stopping by and being part of the series.
Thanks, Andrew. I appreciate you having me on. It's a great series. I'm just happy to be a part of it.
So you've been with Rapala, and I tried to look this up. I think it's been for the better part of like 2 decades now, right? You are definitely not like a newcomer to the Rapala brand.
No, I've been with Rapala it'll be almost 21 years now this year. So, yeah, and I started out, I came from retail, and
Okay.
I spent about 12 years in retail before joining Rapala as a regional sales manager, and had had a territory, I had a customer base, and just kind of grew from there. Kind of moved up to the ranks in the sales part of it. I was always on the sales side of things, but heavily involved in operations and product development and forecasting and things like that. And marketing, of course. So I think that's one of the great things about Rapala. We're considered a big company in the fishing world, but internally we're a pretty small company. We've always worn a lot of hats, and we pride ourselves on everyone's got a voice, and we make sure everyone is heard, and it just prepares you to be successful down the road. So.
And I love that you came through like the retail and the sales side of things too, because having that like experience has to be invaluable to you in your current role. Like, going up through the ranks, being there, boots on the ground, knowing what customers are saying, knowing what your sales folks are going through at any given time. So how much does that, experience over the past, 15, 20 years help you in your current role today?
It helps immensely, Andrew. I try my best to hire people that have had, fishing or outdoor retail experience. You learn a lot, and you learn about the consumer. You learn about their buying habits, whether you're on the sales floor or you're in a buying office. It's knowledge that a classroom can't teach you, and it's knowledge that you can bring to the table when it's dealing with customers or even from a product development standpoint, knowing kind of what consumers want, what they might gravitate to, things like that. It's just I feel like it's experience that I would not give up for anything. Retail is a grind, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Retail can be a grind, but I wouldn't give it up for anything.
So what do the duties like day-to-day wise now of the president of Rapala VMC USA? What does that look like day to day?
Well, I just got back from Finland. I was spent a week in Finland at our Helsinki headquarters. You know, the day-to-day aspect of it is you're kind of involved in everything, to be honest with you. I still, in my current role, I still do oversee sales as vice president of sales as well. So that is still under my umbrella. So obviously I'm very involved in that part of it, our customer base and what direction that is going and how we can partner with all of our customers more and more. But also too, you know, from an operations standpoint, marketing, product development, it's just, you're involved in every aspect of that day to day. There's definitely more meetings when it comes to being in this role. But they're good meetings because you know it's about striving to get better and what can we do to get better and what do you think of this and just bouncing ideas off each other and so it's no day is the same. Let me put it that way. But I can tell you though, it is interacting with all facets of the business on a day-to-day basis.
So I think I read, and this might have been, maybe it was a year ago, but I feel like it was pretty recently. You guys are coming off of like 2 or 3 straight record years for sales, right? For Rapala?
We are. Yep. The last 3 years have been record years, and outside of the COVID year. And this year we're on pace to, beat all of those years. So we've been blessed with a great team, blessed with great product, great marketing, and the fishing industry is strong. So we're happy to be a part of it and, show growth every year. And this year's been exceptional.
I think it's so interesting because I feel like we hear a lot of times, like people are still hanging on to the now the excuse is almost gone, but I mean, the COVID hangover of just how bad the fishing industry was. All we heard was like, you started this record years in 2023. Like in 2023, we were in the dead middle of everybody saying like, oh my gosh, we came off of this high on the hog couple years where we just broke every record and shattered every record imaginable because people were stuck at home and they had to go outside and they were fishing. You guys seemingly kind of zigged when everybody else zagged, I guess, because while everybody else was struggling, you guys have had your best years ever.
Yeah, I think a part of that too is, fisherman participation or fisher person participation. I think has been strong, even though post COVID, obviously you lost some people, but I think the retainment was there, and specializing in consumable goods. Which is what we have done up to a couple of years ago when we acquired 13 Fishing. But before that, it was all consumables, and that very, very strong. And I guess you could say, we kind of, obviously we know there were some inventory issues, just a lot of things that came out of COVID that weren't positive, but I don't think you can get caught in the negativity of what everyone is saying out there, right? And you got to keep doing what you think is right, and keep basically your eye on the ball when it comes to your growth strategy and your 5-year plan. And that's what we did. And sure, there were hiccups and speed bumps along the way, but people, at the end of the day, people want to fish. People want to fish. It's their getaway. Some of it's their livelihood. Some of it's their getaway. Some of it's their family time. COVID or not, that's just the way life is, and that's the way we like it. And sure, COVID got maybe more anglers into it that weren't normally, but it certainly post-COVID did not reduce the number of anglers that have been in it their entire life. So.
This is why this is so interesting. You just said something right there that I guess I've never really put 2 and 2 together before, was the consumables versus non-consumables piece. Like when you're Rapala VMC, before you acquired 13 Fishing, everything you did was baits. So that's, I think what you mean by that, right? Is like, those are things that you have to rebuy to go fishing. So I have to restock my, DTs. I have to restock my soft plastics. I have to do all of that, where when money gets tight and wallets get tight, maybe I don't buy that new rod or reel combo because I have ones that work just fine, in my garage, and that's what gets cut. But I guess it's a good point. When I really was struggling there for a couple of years, like I was still buying soft plastics and baits. I just wasn't splurging on things that I guess, I don't know what you would call them, a non-consumable, right? Something that you're not just using and have to replenish.
Yeah, we call them durables. So consumables and durables. Yep, that's exactly right. So obviously, with Rapala, hard baits, Crush City soft baits, VMC, hooks and jigs, and Suffix line, those are all consumable products that that continue to grow for us year over year. And it's one of those things that, like you mentioned it, even when times are tight and you're fishing, you go through product and you need to, replenish the tackle box, right? With those types of things. So, I think that was a big, obviously that's a big benefit for us through, whether it's, more challenging financial times, or any type of, I guess, countrywide economic distress or anything like that. I guess, being so strong in the consumable part of it is really an advantage for us.
So we were talking before we started recording here, but you're a Minnesota guy through and through, which, makes perfect sense, obviously, with Rapala. So do you feel like, obviously, Rapala is a global brand. You have a huge presence overseas, all of these great markets. Do you feel like especially upper Midwest, but Midwest is still kind of like, at least in the U.S., that is like Rapala's just bread and butter, and it is your strongest region, you think, just nationally for continental United States?
I would say if you had to pin me down and made me identify one area that's probably our strongest, I would still say the Midwest. But I can tell you that the southern U.S. Bass Belt, largemouth bass belt, we call it, has been most of our growth. So, with introducing Crush City soft plastics, VMC, and then obviously Suffix, three of our fastest growing brands. And that's all been mainly bass related. So on the southern side of things. So I think, Midwest is still probably our stronghold. But like I said, all of our growth has been in that southern bass world.
Which makes sense to me, just as a tackle nerd and watching trends and everything. Like, it seems like if you rewound 20 years ago, there are northern and southern anglers. Like, there are Midwest anglers, there are West Coast anglers, there are East Coast anglers, and everybody has their own style, their own techniques. That, yes, there was some bleed over, but it was not as like homogenous as it is now, where you have guys down in Texas now that are throwing, finesse smallmouth gear from Canada that they never, ever, ever would have thrown before. And you're seeing all of these kind of like bleed over where some of our Midwest tactics, the Ned rig, is all over the place now. So that type of stuff is kind of cool to see. And I'm sure that's what you're seeing with that growth too, right? Is a lot of things that were more regional are now national and international because of the internet and because of access to information. And the people that I watch and I learn from are now not my neighbors down the street. And that's how things stay regional. Now I'm watching some guy in, California fish. And then 10 minutes later, I'm watching some guy in New England fish.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think it's always been where the northern bass fisherman has picked up tricks and things from the southern bass fishermen, right? And but now, like you said, I think things are starting to blend a little bit more, right? Like northern tactics are working very well, and it doesn't hurt to have some strong northern bass pros fishing some tournaments and doing very well. But a lot of those tactics are working everywhere, which is really cool to see.
So you started in sales over the past 20 years, being on the sales side of Rapala. How much has tackle sales in general changed? I mean, you've seen all kinds of things, from just where people are buying their tackle to how they're buying their tackle. Now it's like online stuff with all of the stocking, less issues that you have with physical inventory and targeted ads and all kinds of stuff. How has just the pure sales side of what you do at Rapala changed over the past couple decades?
From a sales standpoint, I guess our mentality hasn't changed a lot. We still try to cater to the independent dealer, the mass big box customer, mass merchants, and distributors. So I think from a sales aspect, that really hasn't changed. We have sales reps throughout the country that we still employ to outside sales force that calls on our independent dealer base for us. That's still very important. And then you've got the distributors, the regional distributors that are still very strong, that are helping distribute your product to that dealer base, and then the chain accounts. So. But what has changed, I guess, that I've seen probably the most is just that e-commerce business. That online business has really changed the game. Where I guess when I first started that, the independent dealer was where you'd go to get the latest and greatest, get the information you need, the latest trends. They'd be the first to get product, the first to react, very nimble. And now that script has kind of flipped. Obviously, there's still a lot of strong independent dealers out there, but that information that they have and always will have, a lot of that's now available on your phone at your fingertips. That's probably the biggest change I've seen, and how nimble everyone can be now. Even big box chain accounts with their websites and things like that have gotten better and better. They can be way more nimble than they used to be. And so, yeah, I'd say the online e-commerce game has definitely been probably the biggest game changer on the sales side of things.
I guess from your side then, from like sales volume, do you think the e-commerce is like a net positive or a net negative for you? Because I can make an argument both ways. I could say that it's good for you because, it's, like I said, less physical inventory. If you can go direct to consumer and you don't have to have that stock sitting somewhere and you can go straight to them and sometimes cut out the middleman, like that's probably good. You have tracking of customers like you've never had before. You know their order history, you know what they like, what they don't like. You can target things to them. I also think there's a little bit in the back of your head of like, I'm not paying cash. Like it doesn't hurt for me to break my wallet out. I'm just hitting a button on a computer and beep, boop, it comes to my door. But then on the bad side, like I could see you're not getting as many people feeling and touching your product before they buy it. So I think the impulse buy is a little tougher sometimes. I feel like I'm more likely to, if I go to a store and I'm picking up baits and I'm looking at them, I'm way more likely to impulse buy, and I will spend more in a store than I do online. I could also see now competition-wise, like a smaller tackle company, the barrier to entry is so much less. So there's more competition because anybody can go online, pay $12 a month and make a website and sell baits, where there used to be a little bit of gatekeeping is not the right word, but you know what I mean, where there was like a barrier to entry that you had to prove your worth and you had to work your way and have the distributor relationships to get store shelves. And now that's not like as much of a thing anymore with e-commerce.
Yeah, the smaller bait companies that can start up their own company or whatever and be noticed, that's all due to social media, in my opinion, right? They can advertise and reach a target audience nowadays where that wasn't even possible before, right? Where you had to have a brand to reach the audience, and now with social media, you can do that relatively easy. But so I think from a e-commerce sale, from that standpoint, Rapala, we do not push hard on direct to consumer sales from our own website. Sure, we have our own website. You have to, right? And show all of our products, but it's more of an informational. We do a lot of informational things on it. And whether it's videos or blogs or things like that, and stuff is just there if a consumer wants to buy it. We don't put a big push on it. We try to push all of our sales to our customers. And I think we do a pretty darn good job at that. And that's something that I want to continue doing, and not just, chasing the end dollar, the margin game to sell direct. To me, it's not a long-term strategy. And we want to partner with our customers as much as possible on their e-commerce websites and help them grow. And that's just going to make us better in the long run. So,
what about the international side? Like you mentioned earlier, you just went to like Helsinki and you're going to, all of these places. You have to be, I mean, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but you probably have to be the most international of the folks that are probably in this series. There might be one other company that's probably close, but I mean, you definitely have a more international book of business than most people do. On one hand, I think it's a differentiator for Rapala, which is very cool. The European side, the Australian side, the multi-species offerings that you have and the different markets that you're making different baits for. Is that a big differentiator for Rapala? And do you see that as a positive?
I definitely see it as a positive. We have PD teams all over the world. And, like you said, whether it's Finland, France, Australia, South Africa, different areas, different regions in the world that we have boots on the ground, and we all communicate. And I think you can only just make yourself better. And I think too, hey, we've taken some of their product ideas, they've taken some of ours. And it's just a good relationship that way. And, the more we can get behind a product globally, the stronger we'll be, right? And we're doing more and more of that. And aligning all the global units throughout the world from a product development and marketing and operations standpoint. And whenever we can help out one of our brothers in Australia, we certainly will, and vice versa. And if they love some of the Crush City shapes that our U.S. team came up with, have at it, right? And you can, so and vice versa, right? Like we're taking on some of the Australian saltwater shapes in Crush City for next year type of stuff. So, there's that kind of thing going on. I do think it makes us stronger in the relationships we have with everybody from a global standpoint.
One of the other things that's interesting is that I think you guys have less competition between your brands that you manage versus most of the other people, probably all of the other people in this 4-part series. I think the cool part of Rapala VMC is that, you've got Rapala, which is like legendary balsa, legendary wooden baits, is then expanded into like regular plastic baits. But then you have like one line company in Suffix. You have one hook company in VMC. You have one, jig wire bait company in Terminator. Now you have one rod and reel brand in 13 Fishing. Storm kind of like has its own core audience and its own core line of baits, but obviously tied in very closely to Rapala. So you have a much smaller footprint in terms of the physical number of brands that you are managing, and you're limiting that competition between each of them. I mean, you're not like, say GSM has Yamamoto, RoboWorm, and they've got Big Bite Baits. They've also got Phoenix and Dobbins, which are competing. You've got Pure Fishing, who's got Fenwick and Penn and Ugly Stick and Abu Garcia. Is that by design? Have you guys made a conscious decision to say, hey, we want to have kind of like one of everything, and we do want to limit that competition between our brands that we manage?
It has been by design. I never want to discredit any of the competition that you just mentioned. They all do a phenomenal job at what they do, but it just isn't us to even to have brands that cross over, maybe cannibalize each other, and kind of compete, like you said, with each other. And we want to make it easy when a salesperson goes into a customer shop and has all the categories available for them to buy, but they don't have to choose between one or the other. That's probably the biggest differentiator. And I think acquisitions are something that obviously some companies get very aggressive at, and we just haven't been aggressive with acquisitions. Our goal has been building our core brands and long term. Kind of, our CEO Cyril Villard has instituted a brand growth strategy that's a global strategy, and it's taking those key brands like you just mentioned, and what is the 5-10 year plan of those brands, and let's focus on those and what we can do there. And maybe those might cross over to other categories that they're not normally in, but they won't cross over to a core category that we're already in with another brand. So that's kind of been the mindset.
So then for the brands that you do manage, you've got, kind of one of each under your umbrella. Is there still kind of like a hierarchy in the Rapala VMC world in terms of like the brands that have the most importance, or, we focus on these before others? Obviously, Rapala and VMC are in the name of the parent company, so you have your two big ones there. But like, is there that sort of totem pole or hierarchy of the brands that you do manage in terms of the importance in your mind, or do you see them like as completely even playing field peers?
I feel like that it's complete even playing field. Obviously, Rapala is our horse, right? Rapala is our horse, and that's going to be one that we're going to attack year in and year out with product development and marketing spend. But other brands, 13, VMC, Suffix, Lure Jensen, Blue Fox, all those brands, Storm, Strike Master, William. I mean, we're going to attack all those brands, and we do annually on a new product launch basis. We make sure every brand gets new product and also gets a marketing spend. Now, some marketing spend is not going to be as big as some others, right? And some of those brands I just mentioned are super regional, and they're not going to have that national appeal. So they will get that regional attention versus a Rapala, Suffix, VMC 13 will get national attention from a PD and a marketing standpoint. But all the other brands are super important to our portfolio, and like we just talked about, they're identifying areas or fisheries that we don't target or we don't hit with the other top brands. So we try to treat them all equal when it comes to internal focus from a PD standpoint, but quantifying that, quantifying what is the volume of that audience, what are those fisheries at. So a lot of times it's much smaller, so you don't need to launch 500 new SKUs in Lure Jensen a year. You might need to launch 50. So there's that give and take.
So of the brands that you guys have, the newest kid on the block is 13 Fishing, obviously. And I think you guys purchased that kind of in two separate transactions and finally took kind of full ownership of 13 Fishing. What was it about 13 Fishing that you guys were drawn to? Because if you look back, like there are other rod and reel brands that are available on the market at that time. You had, I think probably at that time, Dobbins was still available. You had whatever, Denali, Kistler, St. Croix, I think is still family owned, ARC. Like you have some of those people that were there, and you guys obviously went with 13. What was it about 13?
I think it's kind of two parts. So I think the rod and reel aspect and combos that 13 had. I think 13 from a branding standpoint was targeting when they're in their infancy stages. They're kind of a disruptor brand targeting a younger bass angler, and there was brand strength there. And then the other part of that is very strong foothold in the ice category. 13 Fishing dominates the rod reel combo category in ice fishing. They've been market share leaders since day one till now. So obviously us being in Minnesota and owning Strike Master augers and doing our fair share of ice business up here. And then obviously that had a big part of it. And then also attacking that kind of that younger audience that 13 was kind of known for on the bass side of things.
So when you guys acquire someone like 13, which that's obviously the most recent acquisition in a long time. I mean, I don't know, but the last one I can remember before that was probably Suffix, like, late 2007, 2008, 2009, somewhere around there. So when you guys take over a 13 Fishing, and obviously you're a different organization than you were in 2008, you know more, you have more resources, you've seen more at this point. Do you make any changes to a 13 like once you purchase them, or is it pretty much a, hey, it ain't broke, don't fix it, we bought you for a reason and we're going to keep everything pretty much the same?
With 13, we did make a lot of changes. In trying to bring them back, trying to bring the brand back to what it was, there had to be some changes that were made. And so I think what you'll see going forward in 2027, there will be nothing in the 13 fishing product portfolio that was there 3 years ago before we acquired it. So we have done so everything in that catalog will be under the ownership of Rapala. The product development team, the marketing team, operations, factories, everything will be something that we designed, created, and launched. So we did have to do a bit of different than Suffix or Lure Jensen, two of the acquisitions that I was around for, but a little different than that. But the brand was still so strong, and but we did have to push reset on a fair amount of it.
I like that. I like the fact that you guys are taking that approach, because sometimes you hear the opposite, where a company will get acquired and then they basically have to stand at the altar and go, I swear to goodness, we're not changing anything. I promise we're going to use the same person that's done this for 27 years and we're going to source it at the exact same factory. And like, I swear, do not, don't shoot the messenger. We're not changing anything. And, sometimes change is needed. Like you have so much more expertise and so much more experience than, the previous people who had it there. I mean, you're Rapala. You have every resource under the sun in terms of making sure that you are a good steward of the brand, but giving people a better product. I mean, there were issues early on with rod breakage with 13. I broke more 13 rods, 10 years ago than any brand I probably had at that point. I liked them, but I broke my fair share of Defies and Omens and everything back in the day. They had a lot of SKUs. They seemed to be getting a little bit all over the place and trying to hit some kind of wonky price points and stuff. So I love the fact that you guys are standing out and saying, no, like we are changing it, but I promise we're changing it for the better.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I'm not. That's full transparency, not sugarcoating that at all. It needed to be, like you said, it needed to be addressed. And when they did a heck of a job, as I mentioned earlier, launching it, and I think maybe some things suffered along the way, like you said, the rod breakage issues, things like that we just had to correct. And we feel really, really good about the product assortment that for 2027 from a rod, reels, and combo standpoint that your listening audience will be seeing. So it's exciting. I'm super excited about it because I'm same as you. Used 13 rods for a long time. Always used the baitcast reels. But yeah, I used to have some issues and things like that. And now it's like everything we've been product testing for 2.5 to 3 years is rock solid, that I, can tell my best friends that, hey, use this and you won't have any issues. And it's been through the test of Rapala product development, and we're super proud of it. So
Yeah, I had more of those silver old Inceptions than like any reel for a long time. I mean, you can get them on Facebook Marketplace for like $50-$60 and they were bulletproof. Like they were awesome. So yeah, there were, and then, my ice stuff, I have tickle sticks. I have, all kinds of stuff from 13. So yeah, it's very, very cool to see you guys kind of take that brand to the next level and kind of Rapala-ize it a little bit and say, hey, let's use all of the good things that we have. And this is a great example of why like this series is a great thing and why it's cool to take a peek behind the curtain, because we talked about it earlier and I don't think we had started the episode yet, but because everybody vilifies everything and everybody's like, oh, big tackle company and private equity and all that kind of stuff, there's some good that comes with that, like all of the resources and the ability to make things better, to make things more price, conscious and effective, and you can buy in bigger bulk quantities and get pricing lower and flex your muscles a little bit that way. Like there's a lot of good that comes out of your favorite brand, as long as it's acquired by the right people, taking it to the next level and being a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think at the end of the day, bigger fishing companies out there, the most important thing is having end users, right? End
Yeah.
users that are making these critical decisions, whether it's from a product development standpoint to marketing to sales, even operations like forecasting. It's so critical to me to have an office full of end users that are just passionate about fishing, that want to put the right product in the fisherman's hands and have success with it, and do it for a long time.
So I want to ask you a little bit about Crush City, because that is your newest offering. Obviously, there's probably a tough part of your shoes that goes, okay, we're looking out at our brand portfolio. We don't really have a great strong arm on soft plastics. Like, we're missing soft plastics very obviously in this lineup at this point. And so there's two routes you can go. And most of the time the route is, okay, you go find someone that fits that mold and you acquire that person, you bring them in. You guys chose instead to say, which a lot of the big companies will not do, of we want to actually start our own from scratch. We are going to build this from the ground up, and we are going to introduce a brand that people have never heard of, never seen before. It doesn't have an identity. It has nothing. And we're going to try and build that up. Why did you choose to build a brand versus go out and find one? Was it just the right fit was not available, or you said, no, we want to take on this project from ground zero and build it up?
I think it was basically we just want to take on a project and build a Rapala brand. And even though the plastics are not called Rapala, Rapala is on the package, and Rapala is associated with Crush City. We knew that was super important, right? Not to just throw the Rapala brand on it and say, hey, it's the Rapala freeloader. No, we wanted to come up with a energetic, kind of a cool name with some vibe to it, a name that would stick, but also keeping that Rapala integrity and kind of driving the innovation standpoint from the Crush City, but also legitimizing it with the Rapala legacy and bringing both those worlds together, and also knowing that it also helped a little bit that we had the best bass angler in the world on our post package. So we had a guy that would help us design these with our PD guys that were diehard bass guys, but to have a Jacob Wheeler partner with you on creating this stuff from ground zero, we didn't feel like we needed to go acquire a brand to do this. We thought we had the resources and the Rapala name behind us that we could get this done. Now, granted, there were some nervous parts to it along the way because it was a big investment. But our company, we don't have a big company, as I mentioned, right? And everyone wears a lot of hats, and so everyone, from PD, sales, marketing, everyone's involved in the naming, the packaging, everything like that. And when we got kind of everyone on board and everyone gave it their thumbs up and approval after having fished with it and all of this, we knew we would be successful with it. Obviously, it became way more successful than we envisioned because it coincided with forward-facing sonar at the same time. You could say there's a little bit of luck involved there, absolutely. I think timing was right, and we just the right people in place to make it a success.
Well, now that it's a success and it's booming, I'm hoping this is an okay question to ask. But just as a business nerd, like, I love the business side of things. When you are saying, all right, we are going to build this brand for Rapala of a soft plastic company, and you chose a very conscious decision not to call them Rapala soft plastics. It's not a giant, red Rapala package on there. Is there a little bit of the devil on your shoulder that goes, all right, well, let's not call this Rapala. Let's call this like Crush City, just in case, like the 2% chance that this flops. Then it's not Rapala flopping. It's a brand that had its own identity that didn't work out, so that you do not, because you have such a impeccable brand. Like, you cannot take a chance and hurt the Rapala brand. Is there any bit of that factors into calling it or branding it something different?
To be honest with you, there really wasn't. It was more like we wanted Rapala position as our hard bait. And so we wanted separation there from our soft plastic and our hard bait, while keeping the Rapala name on the package, but calling it something different. And we knew, soft plastics too. There's definitely a little bit probably younger, energetic, more, younger anglers get into it. It's more economic. And kind of coming up with kind of a younger, more enthusiastic, energetic brand name for soft plastic. I think to go along with the history and the legacy of the hard baits. That was the main decision.
Yeah, and obviously,
Andrew, we knew with the investment that we made, there couldn't be room for failure on this project.
That is a fair point too. It's not an option.
No matter one day we put on it.
Also, I think the fact that you do have a soft plastic company now might take the sting out of this a little bit. And I hate talking about the controversy that is forward facing. It's been beat into oblivion. That dead horse will not get up anytime soon. And I think everybody is sick of talking about it. But one of the really interesting, pieces of forward facing is that, hey, it's not a game that a lot of people are throwing balsa diving crankbaits at, right? So now you do have this lineup that plays very well in that category. Did you guys see any bit of trends or drop-offs with your hard baits once forward facing really took off? Because I think that was, for someone like me, I'm like, man, to be a crankbait person right now would be tough when every single person is out there throwing straight tail minnows and that's all you're hearing about.
Yeah, we did. Honestly, there was definitely a drop off in your traditional DTs, your traditional deep running crankbaits. Jerk baits, a little bit of a drop off in jerk baits, but not as extreme. But even in the walleye world, we saw it. Because now, we're facing sonar's giant in the walleye world. So, you see guys maybe trolling a little less. So, maybe less, we've seen, unit sales decrease in shad wraps a little bit along with DTs. So, yeah, we've seen the decrease and we're not oblivious to it. We're not stubborn. We know what's going on. But it will rebound. It will come back, and we've already seen it. The downtrend of hard baits, I feel, has reached the valley. Right, I think it's just gonna come back, and we've already seen it a little bit this year with DTs and our new lipless snare bait. So it's like, all right, trends aren't forever in fishing. Forward-facing sonar certainly has changed the game and made techniques a little bit different out there versus the traditional techniques. But crankbaits aren't going away. Hard baits are not going away. They still produce and produce in a big way. And there's going to be times, opportunities, seasons for all of it. So yeah, but with the, like you said, going back to your original question, with the sudden growth surge of Crush City, VMC jig heads, yeah, we saw a decline on the hard bait side, but the hard baits won't come back.
Well, yeah, and everything is cyclical. It's like as these offshore fish get so pressured, and that's all anybody is doing, you're seeing guys already start to come back to the bank. And there will probably just be this circle of life that you will see until something else comes around. But yes, the pros are heading back to the bank as we speak. So it's cool to see. You also mentioned jerk baits there, which, yes, obviously with forward facing, jerk baits play a huge role in that. You came out with a bait that fits that mold pretty well in the Maverick. So when the Maverick comes out, Rapala has no shortage of jerk baits already. You have if you want to go back to like, kid Andrew, I caught more fish on a husky jerk than like, anything in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
X wraps and all that kind of stuff.
Oh.
What role did you guys envision for the Maverick when it came out? Because you do already have quite a few jerk baits available. What kind of niche was it made to fill?
The Maverick was to fill the professional angler niche, and that was it. Everything we had up to that point did not tick all the boxes to what our pros wanted, and the Maverick does that with by design, long casting, 3 hooks, cast it, long casting on a bait cast reel. You name just everything that our pros wanted. We came up with the best top line jerk bait we could come up with, and that was that. But to your point, I still love the traditional X-Wrap 10, man. That thing is still a fish catch. Yeah. But yeah, we've had a lot of jerk baits throughout the years, and but the Maverick is truly a pro endorsed or a pro induced bait.
Okay, so let's have a little bit of fun then. All right, this is strictly from Travis the angler, not Travis from Rapala for a second. So if I gave you some hard baits, can you like rank these in terms of just how you an angler like them, like in terms of how much you throw them? So like if we go like Husky Jerk, the DT series, we could go an X-Wrap and just like the original floating minnow.
Okay.
What does that 1 through 4 look like for you as an angler?
X-Wrap 1, DT 2. What was the floater?
We'll do like Husky Jerk and the floating minnow.
Husky Jerk and floating minnow.
What is your favorite bait in the Rapala lineup? Like just overall?
Oh man, I would say probably right now, from if you would put me on a walleye or a bass lake with, that Maverick is really tough to beat. It catches walleyes like a son of a gun. I can tell you that too. So, but yeah, the traditional Shad Wrap is still, to me, it's still a tough bait to, casting or trolling. You can hit numerous depths with it, and yeah, I'd have to. It's tough. It's tough for me to. But right now, that Maverick is catching everything. Smallmouth, largemouth, it's pretty cool.
The Shad Wrap too. I mean, we have so many Shad Wraps. We have some. I live in Dayton, Ohio, so we have like a few lakes around here. That's what I'm jealous of you all up there. You have so much water to fish and so many places to go. From my house, there are probably like, I don't know, 3 lakes within an hour and a half that really you're going to go fish. And one of those lakes was kind of like our home lake, I guess, growing up, which is a terrible bass lake. And the one thing that just 90% of the year will work there is Shad Wraps. We have boxes full of Shad Wraps. So yeah, the Shad Wrap has a special place in my heart for sure.
Yeah.
Fish magnet. That's all it is.
Andrew, you're my people.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. And, any walleye fishery, and it's kind of middle of the day trolling, it's Shad Wraps down, guys. And that's just the way it is. It's been a way of life before I worked for Rapala, Shad Wrap, when I was working Shad Wrap. So, yeah. So.
Well, hey, before we get ready to start winding down here and let you go, I have like 2 more questions. I would say one of the questions I've asked most of the people on this series to this point is, what makes your parent company different than the others? And so without, obviously, I know we're all respectful here, but there is probably like a special sauce to Rapala that, there isn't other places. When you look at the other people that are going to be in this series, the GSMs, the Pure Fishings, the Pradcos of the world, what do you think it is about Rapala that makes you unique compared to your peers?
My peers might say this, but I honestly would say our people, starting from our top CEO. He is heavily involved in the day-to-day business. He cares about people. He will come to our US PD meetings and just, come to our US sales meetings and just be involved and walk around the office and talk to people. And that trickles down right from the top, that culture. Our culture is, to me, I'm a little biased, but I feel like our culture is the best that it can be. And we encourage our employees to go fishing. We encourage them to just spend time in the outdoors. And like I was mentioning to you, it's under 50 employees in our home office, and so we all wear a lot of hats. We're all very involved. We all will fight like brothers, but hug in the end, type of deal. And it's just a great atmosphere. We can have 15 people on a PD meeting and staying together. Everyone just gets along and it's productive and that's fun. And I think everyone's got the same end goal in sight. And so I think, the culture is really what the culture. And then I guess the second part would be the legacy of the Rapala brand. Those would be the two things I think that would set us apart.
So what is on the horizon for Rapala VMC? Like, I know we are, whatever it is, 2-3 months away from ICAST. And I'm sure you guys have been hard at work on things for the past couple years that are hopefully right around the corner to come out. What are you excited about, without giving away anything, obviously, but what can we look forward to from either Rapala or VMC or any of your kind of like subsidiary companies there in the next year or two?
Well, our vice president of product development, Charlie Davis, he said last year, 2026 new product looked really good. He's like, oh, wait till you see 2027. So now we see 2027. He's like, wait till you see 2028. So I'm very confident our pipeline looks very, very good. At ICAST, you'll see roughly about close to 900 new SKUs. Yeah,
goodness gracious.
But we're touching every brand and all the categories. So it's tough to, from rods, reels. With 13 Fishing, you're going to see all new reels under the Rapala umbrella now. So that'll be really exciting. And then obviously hard baits, soft baits, jig heads, hooks, line. We got something new in all of our core brands. So for ICAST, so it'll be really, really fun.
Well, thank you so much for taking some time and walking us through everything that it is Rapala VMC. We appreciate it. If you are welcome back anytime you want to come back to Tackle Talk. Awesome. It's just been a pleasure to talk through. Rapala is synonymous with fishing. Like, I can remember riding my bike to Walmart and buying the little bill jointed crankbaits that they had there, and just saving up your allowance and going up and buying 2 of those, and then going to the reservoir, going to the creeks and throwing them up. Like, Rapala was what we had for hard baits growing up. So a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for kind of the peek behind the curtain. That is Travis Tuma, President of Rapala VMC USA. Travis, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Andrew. Great. It's great talking to you. Great podcast, and I appreciate you having me.
All right, everybody. And with that, we wrap up episode 2 of The Big Four. We are halfway home through this 4-part series. 2 incredible episodes to kick us off. And we have another 2 great episodes coming up in the next 2 weeks. But obviously today we have to give another big thank you to Travis Tuma for coming on, being the president of Rapala VMC USA. He is very busy, and we can't thank him enough for setting aside the time to be a part of this series. And I just hope you guys enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Now, next up, get ready, because episode 3 drops next week with the VP of Brand Management at Pradco, Mr. Chad Warner. So it's also a great episode, a very eye-opening episode. So mark your calendars. Tuesday, June 16th, episode 3 drops right here on the Tackle Talk podcast. But in the meantime, you guys know the drill. Shoot us an email, tackletalkpodcast@gmail.com. You can send us a DM at Tackle Talk Podcast over on Instagram or Facebook. Be sure to subscribe on whatever podcast platform you prefer to listen on. And we'll see you right back here next Tuesday for episode 3 of The Big Four, right here on the Tackle Talk podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Tackle Talk podcast. Tackle Talk is produced by Andrew Hayes. Copyright 2019. For more, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.